The air felt different near the earth door. Gia noticed it the moment she stepped into the chamber for the first time. It was colder here, with a strange heaviness that made her skin tingle. The massive circular door stood before her, its dark, metal surface covered in ancient symbols that glowed faintly blue in the dim light. "Do not touch it," Elder Tay said sharply, his voice echoing in the empty chamber. "Not even to clean it." Gia nodded quickly. She was only 22, the youngest member ever accepted into the Doorway Authority, and she did not want to make mistakes on her first assignment. "I understand, Elder." Tay was tall and thin with gray hair that reached his shoulders. His face showed the lines of many years, but his eyes remained sharp and clear. He had been watching the doors for over 50 years. "You say you understand, but you do not," he said, walking slowly around the edge of the chamber. "This is not like the other doors. The Mars door, the Venus door, even the distant Proxima door. They are all open for study and travel. But this one stays closed." Gia looked at her assignment tablet. Her job seemed simple enough: catalog the artifacts in the chamber, clean the monitoring equipment, and report any changes in the door's energy readings. Basic work for a new member, they. "Histories say humans are dangerous," she said, repeating what every child learned in school. "They fight wars and destroy their environment." Tay made a sound that was almost a laugh. "If that were the only reason, we would have sealed 100 other worlds." Gia waited for him to explain more, but he only pointed to the workstation in the corner of the room. "You will work here 4 hours each day. The rest of your duties will be in the main archive. When you finish each shift, you will report directly to me." "Yes, Elder, and Gia," he added, his voice becoming softer. "Remember the first rule of the doors. What is sealed must remain sealed, not just for our protection, but for theirs." With that, he left her alone in the chamber. For 3 days, Gia did exactly as she was told. She carefully listed each artifact: strange devices, rock samples, and what appeared to be human items stored in preservation fields. She cleaned the monitoring equipment and noted the unchanging energy readings in her reports. The work was boring, but the door fascinated her. Unlike the other doorways between worlds that the Kyrians maintained, this one seemed older, its designs more complex. Sometimes when the facility was quiet, she thought she could hear a faint hum coming from it, like a distant machine still running after all these years. On the 4th day, she brought her lunch to eat in the chamber. The quiet made a nice change from the busy cafeteria. While eating, she studied the symbols on the door more closely. Some looked like the ancient Kyrian writing she had studied in school, but others were unknown to her. "I wonder what you are really hiding," she whispered to the door. As if in answer, a small light flickered near the center of the door, a tiny red dot that had never been active before. Gia put down her food and checked the monitoring equipment. All readings were normal. She moved closer to the door, careful not to touch it as she had been warned. The red light continued to blink slowly, like a heartbeat. She should report this immediately, but curiosity made her pause. What if it was nothing? Elder Tay might think she was overreacting or not suited for the job. As she stood watching the light, something else happened. A sound came from the door, not the mechanical hum she had noticed before, but something that made her freeze in place. Royce. It was faint, as if coming from very far away, and the universal translator in her ear struggled to process it. But there was no mistaking it. Someone, something, was speaking from the other side of the earth door. "Please." Just one word. Barely a whisper. Then silence. Gia backed away quickly, her heart pounding. This was impossible. The earth door had been sealed for over 300 years. There should be no active connection, no way for sound to travel through. She needed to report this. She reached for her communication device, then stopped. What would happen if she told Elder Tay? The chamber would be locked down. She would be removed from the assignment, and whoever, was on the other side of that door. "Hello?" she said softly, moving closer to the door again. "Can you hear me?" Silence answered. Her. The red light continued its slow blinking, but no more words came through. That evening, instead of going home after her shift, Jia went to the historical archives. Her friend Do-hyun worked there, organizing the ancient records. If anyone could help her understand what was happening, it was him. "You look worried," Do-hyun said when he saw her. His round face always seemed ready to smile, but now he frowned with concern. "I need to know more about the Earth Door," she said quietly, looking around to make sure no one else could hear. "The real story, not what they teach us in school." Do-hyun's eyes widened. "That's restricted information. Even I don't have access to most of it. But you must know something. Why is it really sealed? What happened during the Great Conflict?" He sighed and motioned for her to follow him to a small reading room. Once inside, he closed the door. "The official records say humans discovered one of our doors by accident. They tried to force their way through and we had to defend ourselves. After the conflict, the council decided Earth was too dangerous to remain connected." Jia nodded. "That's what everyone knows. But," Do-hyun continued, lowering his voice even more, "I found some older records that tell a different story. Before the conflict, humans and Kyrians traded regularly. There were even Kyrian scientists living on Earth. This was new information. What happened to change things? That's where the records become unclear. There are missing sections, documents that have been altered." He hesitated. "My supervisor caught me looking once. He said some knowledge is dangerous even to those who guard it." Jia thought about the voice. That single word. "Please. Do-hyun. What if the Earth Door isn't completely sealed? What if someone is trying to communicate from the other side?" His face paled. "That's not possible. The locking mechanisms, I know what I heard," she insisted. Do-hyun looked at her for a long moment. "If what you're saying is true, you need to report it immediately. And then what happens? The standard protocol would be to strengthen the seals and increase monitoring. Without finding out why they're trying to reach us, without even listening?" He didn't answer, but his expression told her everything. Whatever was trying to communicate would be silenced forever. "I need more time," she said. "Just a few days to understand what's happening." Do-hyun looked troubled. "This is dangerous, Jia. Not just breaking rules dangerous. This could be real danger. One of the first things they taught us about the doors was that knowledge is the key to understanding," she reminded him. "How can we understand if we refuse to listen?" After a long pause, he nodded slowly. 3 days. Then we tell Elder Tae together." As Jia left the archives, she felt both excited and afraid. Tomorrow she would return to the Earth Door with new questions and a determination to listen more carefully. She didn't know then that the voice would return, stronger this time. She couldn't have guessed what those simple words would lead to, or how they would change everything she thought she knew about her world and the humans beyond the forbidden door. Jia arrived early for her shift the next day. The Earth Door chamber was empty and quiet when she entered, the blue lights casting long shadows across the floor. She went straight to the monitoring equipment and made a small adjustment. Now it would record any sounds near the door without sending alerts to the main security system. For the first hour, she worked normally, cleaning and checking equipment. Her eyes kept moving to the door, watching for the red light that had appeared yesterday. So far, it remained dark. As she worked, she thought about what Do-hyun had told her. If Kyrians and humans had once traded and lived together, why did all the official stories paint humans as dangerous monsters? What had really happened during the Great Conflict? Just before noon, the red light appeared again. Jia put down her tools and moved closer to the door, careful to stay behind the yellow safety line on the floor. "Hello?" she said softly. "Is someone there?" At first, nothing happened. Then came the voice again, slightly clearer than before. "Hello? Can hear me?" The universal translator in Jia's ear struggled with the words. The voice sounded tired, as if the person had been trying to make contact for a very long time. "I can hear you," Jia replied, excitement making her heart beat faster. "Who are you?" "Name?" "Han. Earth scientist." There was a pause, then, "Door, how open?" Gia looked around nervously. If anyone walked in now, she would be reported immediately. The door is sealed, she explained. It has been for 300 years. I'm not supposed to be talking to you. The voice seemed to grow stronger. Need help? Son? Problem? Please. Before she could respond, Gia heard footsteps in the hallway outside. Quickly, she moved away from the door and returned to her workstation. The red light disappeared just as Elder Tay walked into the chamber. You're here early today, he noted, looking around the room carefully. I wanted to finish cataloging the artifacts in Section 4, she said, trying to keep her voice steady. Tay walked slowly around the chamber, his eyes moving over everything. When he reached the door, he stopped and placed his hand near it, not touching but close enough to feel the energy field. Has anything unusual happened during your shifts? He asked without turning. Gia hesitated. No, Elder. Everything has been normal. He turned to look at her, his eyes narrowed slightly. The monitoring equipment showed a small energy spike yesterday. Did you notice anything? There was a brief flicker in the lights, she said, which was not entirely a lie. I noted it in my report. Tay nodded slowly. The Earth door is different from the others, Gia. It was one of the first, created when our understanding of the doorways was still developing. Its design is unpredictable. Is that why it's sealed? She asked. One of many reasons. He moved away from the door. Starting tomorrow, you will have a security officer with you during your shifts. Gia felt a cold fear spread through her body. Have I done something wrong? It's standard procedure for anyone working near this door for more than 3 days, Tay explained. Nothing to worry about if everything remains normal. After he left, Gia waited 15 minutes before approaching the door again. The red light remained off, and no voice came through. The human named Han was gone, or hiding because of Ty's visit. That evening, she met Do-hyun at a small food shop far from the doorway authority building. The place was busy with people eating after work, which made it easy to talk without being overheard. It spoke again, she told him quietly. A human scientist named Han. Do-hyun nearly dropped his drink. What did it say? He mentioned something about their son and asked for help. She leaned closer. And Elder Tay almost caught me. Starting tomorrow, I'll have a security officer watching me. This is getting too dangerous, Do-hyun warned. Maybe we should tell Ty now. Gia shook her head. Not yet. I need to know more first. Did you find anything else in the archives? Do-hyun looked nervous but reached into his bag and pulled out a small data chip. I shouldn't be showing you this. If anyone finds out I took it from the restricted section, I'll be careful with it. It contains records from before the Great Conflict, communications between Kyrian scientists and their human partners. He pushed the chip across the table. There's also a technical file about the Earth door itself. I couldn't access everything, but what I could read didn't match the official story at all. Gia slipped the chip into her pocket. Thank you. This might help me understand what Han is trying to tell us. Us? Do-hyun raised his eyebrows. I'm helping you research, Gia, but I'm not getting involved beyond that. Of course, she said quickly. I just meant... I know, he sighed. Just be careful, and remember we agreed on 3 days. At home, Gia connected the data chip to her personal reader. The files were old, some damaged or incomplete. She found communications between Kyrian scientists and their human colleagues from over 300 years ago. They discussed energy research, cultural exchange programs, and plans for expanded cooperation. These humans didn't sound dangerous at all. They seemed curious, friendly, and eager to learn from Kyrian knowledge. Then she found something that made her sit up straight. A report from just before the Great Conflict mentioned a joint project involving Earth's sun. Kyrian scientists had installed some kind of stabilizer technology to help humans manage their planet's climate. The report warned of potential problems. If the system was shut down improperly, was this what Han meant by sun problem? Had something gone wrong with the old Kyrian technology? The next day, the security officer assigned to watch Gia was a young woman named Sun who looked bored with her assignment. She stood by the door, occasionally walking around the chamber, but mostly just watching silently. Gia tried to work normally, but her mind was racing with questions. The red light didn't appear all morning, and she began to worry that Han might not try to communicate again. During her lunch break, Sun received a call and stepped outside the chamber to respond. The moment she was gone, the red light on the heater door flashed rapidly. Jia rushed over, keeping one eye on the chamber entrance. Han, can you hear me? Yes. The voice was clearer now, as if the connection had grown stronger. Not much time, need help. Tell me about the sun problem, Jia said quickly. Your people left technology, now failing, sun becoming unstable. Massive flares soon. The voice paused. Earth will die. How can I help? The door is sealed. You, Kyrian. Door responds to DNA. Old records show. Jia heard Sun's footsteps returning. I have to go, she whispered urgently. I'll try to come back when I'm alone. That night she couldn't sleep. If what Han said was true, the Earth's sun was becoming unstable because of abandoned Kyrian technology. Millions of humans would die if nothing was done. But what could she do? Even if she wanted to help, the Earth door was sealed with technology she didn't understand. And if she told Elder Tay about Han, they would increase security and make sure no one could communicate through the door again. As she finally drifted to sleep, her last thought was of Han's voice saying, "Please." A simple word that now carried the weight of an entire world's fate. The next morning, Jia was called to Elder Tay's office before her shift. She walked slowly down the long hallway, trying to calm her racing heart. Did he know about her conversations with Han? Had the monitoring equipment recorded something despite her adjustments? Tay's office was small but neat, with old maps of doorway locations covering one wall. He sat behind a simple desk, looking at a screen that went dark when she entered. Sit down, Jia, he said, his voice giving away nothing. She sat in the chair across from him, keeping her face calm though her hands trembled slightly. Your work at the Earth door has been good, he began. Very careful, very thorough. Thank you, Elder. But I wonder why someone with your excellent academic record would be satisfied with such basic work. He looked at her closely. Most young people in your position would be requesting more challenging assignments by now. Jia hadn't expected this. I find the Earth door interesting, she said truthfully. The artifacts there are unlike anything I studied in school. Interesting, Tay repeated. Yes, I suppose it would be. He picked up a small device from his desk. Do you know what this is? It looked like a standard data reader, similar to the one she had used to view Do-hyun's stolen files. A reader, she answered. This was found in the archives yesterday. Someone used it to access restricted files about Earth, files that haven't been viewed in over 50 years. He set it down carefully. Do you know anything about that? Jia's mouth felt dry. No, Elder. Tay watched her for a long moment. The security officer assigned to you, son, reported that you seemed distracted during your shifts, that you watched the door more than the artifacts. I'm sorry, I'll be more focused. That's not what concerns me. Tay leaned forward. What concerns me is that you might be developing an unhealthy curiosity about what lies beyond that door. Jia thought quickly. Denying everything might make her look more suspicious. Perhaps a partial truth would be better. I have been wondering about the Great Conflict, she admitted. The official records don't explain much about why contact with Earth was cut off so completely. Tay's expression softened slightly. Ah, the questions all young doorway workers eventually ask. He stood up and walked to the window. What do you know about humans, Jia? They're physically similar to us. They developed technology quickly but fought many wars. They nearly destroyed their environment several times. And what makes them dangerous to us? Jia hesitated. The histories say their curiosity has no limits, that they would try to use our doorway technology to conquer other worlds. Tay nodded. Humans are like children who find their parents' weapon. They want to use it before they understand its power. He turned to face her. The Great Conflict wasn't a war, Jia. It was a prevention. A prevention? Our leaders saw what would happen if humans gained control of the doorways. They looked into possible futures and saw only destruction. His voice became harder. So, They acted first. A cold feeling spread through Gia's chest. What did they do? What was necessary for the greater good? Tay returned to his desk. Your shift today is cancelled. Instead, you will attend a special meeting with the High Council this evening. They wish to speak with you. The High Council? Gia couldn't hide her surprise. The 7 leaders of the Doorway Authority rarely met with anyone below the rank of elder. Yes, it seems your work has attracted their attention. Tay handed her a small card with the meeting details. Until then, you are relieved of your duties. As Gia left the office, her mind raced with questions. Why would the High Council want to meet with her? And what had Tay meant about prevention, rather than conflict? She needed to talk to Do-hyun, but visiting the archives now would be too risky. Instead, she sent him a simple message asking to meet at the food shop again. While waiting for evening, Gia reviewed what she had learned from Han and the stolen files. The Kyrians had installed some kind of technology involving Earth's sun. Now the technology was failing, threatening the entire planet, and somehow Kyrian DNA was connected to opening the Earth door. Do-hyun was already waiting when she arrived at the food shop. His face was pale, and he looked like he hadn't slept. They know about the files, he said as soon as she sat down. My supervisor questioned me this morning. What did you tell him? That I was researching the history of all sealed doors for a personal project. I don't think he believed me. Do-hyun pushed his food away untouched. Gia, I'm scared. These files contain information that could cost us our positions, maybe worse. There's more going on than we realized, she told him about her meeting with Tay and the invitation from the High Council. Do-hyun's eyes widened. The High Council never meets with junior staff. This is serious. I think they know about Han, she admitted. But why invite me to a meeting instead of just dismissing me? Maybe they want to know how much you've learned. Do-hyun lowered his voice. Last night I found one more file before they restricted my access. It mentioned something called Project Solar Shield. The Kyrians didn't just leave technology on Earth. They deliberately altered something about the human sun. Altered it? How? The file was damaged, but it suggested the alterations were meant to limit human development in some way. He looked around nervously. What if the great conflict wasn't started by humans at all? What if we were the ones who attacked them? The idea shocked Gia. Everything she had been taught about Earth and humans might be a lie. I need to talk to Han again to learn what the humans know about this. It's too dangerous now. They're watching you. I know, but... Gia stopped as her communication device beeped. It was time to go to the High Council meeting. Do-hyun grabbed her hand. Be careful. Say as little as possible. The High Council chamber was at the top of the Doorway Authority's tallest tower. Gia had never been there before. The room was circular, with 7 large chairs arranged in a half-circle and a single smaller chair facing them. The walls were covered with moving images of different worlds connected by the doorway network. 6 of the council members were already seated when she entered. They were older than Tay, their faces serious and lined with age. The 7th chair, slightly larger than the others, remained empty. Gia, 4th-level archaeologist, announced a voice as she entered. Approach the center. She walked forward and stood by the small chair, unsure if she should sit. Please be seated, said a woman, with white hair. Her name badge identified her as Council Leader Min. We have much to discuss. As Gia sat down, the door opened again, and Tay entered, followed by a tall woman Gia had never seen before. This woman moved to the empty 7th chair and sat down. She wore the gold collar of the highest rank in the Doorway Authority. Now we may begin, said Min. Gia, you have been working at the Earth Door for several days now. Tell us what you have observed there. Gia chose her words carefully. The door appears stable. The artifacts are well preserved. The monitoring equipment shows normal readings. And, have you noticed anything unusual? Any changes in the door's energy field? Any sounds? They knew. Somehow they knew about Han. Lying would only make things worse. Yes, she admitted. I heard a voice from the other side, a human voice. The council members exchanged glances but showed no surprise. And what did this voice say to you? Asked Min. He said his name is Han. He's a scientist. He said there's a problem with their son, and they need help. Min nodded slowly. And do you believe him? Jia hesitated. I think he's telling the truth. And I found old records suggesting Kyrians once installed technology related to Earth's sun. Project Solar Shield, said the woman in the 7th chair. Her voice was deep and commanding. Yes, we know of it. Min gestured to Tay. Elder Tay suggested you might have discovered more than most. That's why you're here. We have a decision to make regarding you and regarding Earth. What decision? Jia asked. Whether to tell you the truth, said Min. The complete truth about the Earth Door, about the humans and about what really happened 300 years ago. The High Council chamber grew very quiet. Jia could hear her own heartbeat as she waited for them to continue. The woman in the 7th chair nodded to Min, giving permission to speak. 300 years ago, Min began, Kyrians and humans worked together closely. We shared some of our technology with them, helping them solve their energy problems and clean their environment. In return, they shared their art, their music, and their unique way of seeing the universe. It was a successful partnership, added another council member, an old man with a long beard, until the humans began to advance too quickly. Min nodded. Their scientists started to understand how our doorway technology worked. They began building their own experimental doors without proper safety measures. We warned them to slow down, but human curiosity, it has no limits, Jia finished, remembering Tay's words. Exactly, said Min. Our leaders at that time saw 2 possible futures. In one, humans would spread through the doorway network, taking what they wanted from each world, bringing conflict and chaos. In the other, we acted first, said the woman in the 7th chair. Project Solar Shield was designed to slow human development. By adjusting their sun's energy output in specific ways, we could limit their technological growth without harming them directly. Jia tried to understand what they were saying. You changed their sun to keep them trapped on Earth? To protect them from themselves, corrected Min, and to protect the other worlds in our network. Then we closed the Earth door, continued the woman in the 7th chair. We erased most records of our actions and created a new history about a conflict started by dangerous humans. Only the High Council maintained the complete truth. Jia's mind raced with questions. But now something is wrong with the solar shield? Ning looked troubled. Yes. Our monitoring systems recently detected changes in Earth's sun. The adjustments we made centuries ago are becoming unstable. If nothing is done, the sun will release massive flares that could destroy all life on Earth. Can't we help them? Asked Jia. The council members exchanged looks again. Tay stepped forward. That's why we're here, he said. The High Council is divided on what to do. Some believe we should repair the solar shield remotely, keeping the door closed. Others think we should do nothing. That interfering again would only cause more problems. And some, said the woman in the 7th chair, believe we should open the door and work with the humans to fix what we broke. Jia couldn't believe what she was hearing. The council had known about the danger to Earth all along, but they were still debating whether to help. The human who spoke to you, this Han, said Min. He managed to create a small connection through the door, something we thought impossible. It suggests humans have advanced despite our interference. Which proves we were right to limit them, muttered one of the council members. Or proves that we were wrong to fear them, countered another. The woman in the 7th chair raised her hand for silence. Jia, you have been brought here because you are connected to this situation in a unique way. Elder Tay, explain. Tay stepped closer to Jia. When you were assigned to the Earth Door, it wasn't a random choice. We selected you specifically because of your genetic profile. My genetic profile? The Earth Door was one of the first built, Tay explained. Its locking mechanism is tied to the DNA of its original creators. Only someone carrying that specific genetic marker can fully open or close it. Jia stared at him in shock. And I have this marker? Yes. You are a direct descendant of the Doorkeeper family. We've been watching you since you were a child, waiting to see if you would choose to join the Doorway Authority on your own. Which you did, added Min. Your assignment, to clean and catalog artifacts, was a test of your obedience. We needed to know if you could be trusted near the door. And now you've failed that test, said one of the council members harshly. Or passed a more important one, countered the woman in the 7th chair. She stood up and walked toward Gia. The ability to question rules when lives are at stake is a rare quality. Gia's mind was spinning with all these revelations. What happens now? Will you open the door and help Earth? That's not our decision to make, said the woman. It's yours. Stunned silence fell over the chamber. Even Tay looked surprised. Mine, Gia whispered. Min nodded. You carry the genetic key. More importantly, you've shown both compassion for the humans and loyalty to your own people. The council is divided, so we will leave this choice to you. Gia couldn't believe what she was hearing. You want me to decide the fate of an entire planet? We want you to decide whether to open a door that has been sealed for 3 centuries, corrected the woman in the 7th chair. What happens after that will depend on many factors. But yes, your choice will affect billions of lives. Tay stepped forward again. Before you decide, there is one more thing you should know. He pressed a button on a small device and a holographic image appeared in the center of the room. It showed a man in a small, cluttered room filled with scientific equipment. He was speaking urgently into some kind of communication device. That is Han, said Tay. This was recorded 1 day ago on Earth. In the image, Han looked tired, but determined. Final attempt to contact Kyria, he said. Solar flares increasing. Evacuation ships can only save a small percentage of our population. The image changed to show a young girl sleeping in a bed nearby. My daughter, Mina, Han continued. 6 years old. She deserves a future. They all do. His voice broke slightly. If anyone can hear this, please help us, not for me, for her. The image disappeared. The council chamber was completely silent. We've arranged a special assignment for you, said Min after a moment. Beginning tomorrow, you will be sent to a research facility on the outer moons. It's a prestigious position, far from the pressures of the Earth door. Or, said the woman, in the 7th chair, you can return to the Earth door chamber tonight, alone. What happens then would be your choice. Gia understood what they were offering, a way out, or a chance to act. And if I choose to open the door? Some on the council would see it as treason, admitted Min. Others would see it as justice. Either way, there would be consequences. How long do I have to decide? The next major solar flare will hit Earth in approximately 3 days, said Tay. After that, even opening the door may not help them. The woman in the 7th chair stepped closer to Gia. Whatever you decide, remember this. Sometimes the greatest wisdom is knowing when to break the rules that everyone else follows blindly. As Gia left the council chamber, her mind raced with impossible choices. The prestigious assignment would mean safety, security, and a future in the Doorway Authority. But it would also mean abandoning Earth to its fate. Opening the door would mean risking everything, her career, possibly even her freedom, for people she had never met. She thought of Han's daughter, Mina, sleeping peacefully while her world moved closer to destruction. She thought of all the children on Earth who knew nothing about Kyrians or solar shields or ancient doors between worlds. Back in her small apartment, Gia contacted Do-hyun on a secure channel. The council knows everything, she told him. And they've given me a choice. What kind of choice, he asked, looking worried. Whether to save myself or save Earth. She took a deep breath. I need your help one more time. The Doorway Authority building was almost empty at night. Most workers had gone home, leaving only security guards who patrolled the hallways at regular intervals. Gia and Do-hyun had spent hours studying the patrol patterns, looking for a way to reach the Earth door chamber undetected. There's a 10-minute gap between the 3rd and 4th floor patrols, Do-hyun said as they hid in a maintenance closet near the security office. If we time it right, we can reach the chamber without being seen. Gia nodded. After her meeting with the High Council, she had made her decision. She would open the Earth door and help the humans fix their sun. The consequences for herself didn't matter anymore, not when billions of lives were at stake. Are you sure about this? Do-hyun asked quietly. The council offered you a way out. I'm sure, Jia replied. What our people did to Earth was wrong. We have to make it right. They waited until the guard passed, then moved quickly through the hallways toward the Earth door chamber. Jia used her access card to unlock the door, grateful that the council hadn't removed her privileges yet. The chamber was dark and quiet. The blue lights dimmed for the night. The Earth door stood as it always had, ancient and powerful, covered in symbols that glowed faintly in the darkness. What do we do now? Do-hyun asked, looking nervously at the sealed door. Jia approached it slowly. According to what Tae told me, the door will respond to my DNA. I just need to touch it. That's it? Just touch it? I think so. Jia wasn't entirely sure herself. The council had been vague about the details, perhaps hoping she would choose the safer option they had offered. She stopped just before the yellow safety line on the floor. If this works, the alarms will sound immediately. You should leave now. Do-hyun shook his head. I'm staying. We started this together. Jia smiled at her friend. Then she took a deep breath and stepped across the safety line, moving closer to the door than she had ever been before. Up close, she could see that the symbols were actually tiny circuits, more complex than any technology she had studied. As she raised her hand toward the door, the red light appeared again, blinking rapidly. Jia? Han's voice came through clearly now. Is that you? Yes, she answered. I'm going to try to open the door. Thank you, he said simply. Jia pressed her palm against the cold metal surface of the door. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, she felt a sharp pain in her hand as if something had pricked her skin. The symbols around her hand began to glow brighter, changing from blue to gold. The light spread outward, following the patterns of symbols across the entire door. A low humming sound filled the chamber, growing louder. The floor began to vibrate beneath their feet. I think it's working, Do-hyun said, his eyes wide. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the building. Red warning lights flashed in the corners of the chamber. Security will be here soon, Jia said, keeping her hand pressed against the door despite the pain. You should go. Too late for that, said a voice from the doorway. They turned to see Elder Tae standing there watching them calmly. Behind him were several security officers. Elder Tae, Jia began, but he raised his hand to stop her. Keep your hand on the Dr. Jia, he said, walking into the chamber. The opening sequence has started. If you remove it now, the door will lock permanently. Jia was confused. You're not going to stop us? Tae smiled slightly. Did you think the council really left this decision entirely to you? That we would allow a junior archaeologist to access the Earth door chamber at night without supervision? You knew I would try to open it, Jia realized. We hoped you would, Tae corrected. The council needed someone to take responsibility for breaking 3 centuries of policy, someone young enough to be forgiven for acting on emotion rather than protocol. The humming grew louder. The symbols on the door began to move, rearranging themselves into new patterns. What happens now? Do-hyun asked. Before Tae could answer, the woman from the 7th chair appeared in the doorway. The security officers stepped aside respectfully as she entered the chamber. Now we face our past mistakes, she said, walking toward the door. And we help the humans fix what we broke. The door was changing, parts of it seeming to dissolve or become transparent. Through the thinning metal, Jia could see a dim room on the other side. Scientific equipment lined the walls, and standing in the center, looking amazed and hopeful, was a man she recognized from the hologram. Han. The council is divided no longer, the woman told Jia. Your choice helped us make ours. The door continued to open, creating a passage between the 2 worlds that had been separated for so long. Han stepped forward cautiously, stopping at the threshold between Earth and Kyria. I am Han, he said formally, Chief Scientist of Earth's Solar Stability Project. I am Sarah, replied the woman from the 7th chair. High Commander of the Kyrian Doorway Authority. We have come to help repair the damage we caused. Han nodded gratefully. Then he looked past her to Gia, who still stood with her hand on the door. And you must be Gia, the voice who answered when no one else would. Gia nodded, finally removing her hand from the door now that it was fully open. I'm sorry for what my people did to yours. There will be time for apologies later, Han said. Now we must work quickly. The next solar flare is approaching. More humans appeared behind Han, carrying equipment and data devices. At the same time, more Kyrians entered the chamber, including several council members and technical experts. We've prepared a team of our best scientists, Sarah told Han. They understand the solar shield technology and can help repair it. We've developed a solution as well, Han replied, but we needed a direct connection to implement it. The doorway provides that connection. As the two groups began to work together, sharing information and connecting their technologies, Gia noticed a small figure partly hidden behind Han. Young girl with curious eyes looking around in wonder at the Kyrian chamber. This is Mina, Han said, noticing Gia's gaze. My daughter. Hello, Mina, Gia said softly. The girl looked up at her father. Is she the one who opened the door when you asked? Han nodded. Yes. She helped us when we needed it most. Mina stepped forward and held out a small object to Gia. It was a simple bracelet made of colorful stones. Thank you for saving us, the girl said. Gia took the bracelet, feeling tears in her eyes. This was why she had risked everything, not for abstract principles or historical justice, but for real people with hopes and dreams and futures. Tay moved to stand beside her. The council has a word for what you did, he said quietly. An ancient term not used in generations. Regart. Regart, Gia repeated, unfamiliar with the word. It means both, I regret the past, and I choose a different future, Tay explained. It's what we say when we acknowledge a mistake and take action to correct it. As the humans and Kyrians worked together to save Earth, Gia watched with Do-hyun at her side. The Earth door, once sealed and forbidden, now stood open between their worlds. The warnings she had heard all her life had been based on fear and guilt, not truth. What happens after they fix the sun? Do-hyun asked. Will we close the door again? Sarah overheard his question. No, she said firmly. That time is over. We will work together now, as we should have all along. Han looked up from his work. There's an old Earth saying, a door is meant to be opened. He smiled at Gia. Thank you for listening when I whispered please. Gia touched the bracelet Mina had given her. Regart, she said softly, speaking to both worlds at once. A word, meaning both apology and promise, both ending and beginning, the word that changed everything.